You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Welcome back, my sassy friend, to another episode of Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach and, of course, this podcast. And today I have with me Chad Hufford, and he was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. He grew up in the financial industry, but also developed a strong background in athletics, nutrition, and performance psychology. Chad brings a coaching mindset and the heart of a teacher to financial planning and investing as he strives to both empower and educate his audience to not only become better investors, but to live more intentionally and create an abundant life. My favorite thing. In addition to finance, he regularly teaches and speaks on fitness and faith, seeing these as all important aspects of purposeful and abundant life. I love that. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And as always, my friends, we are going to dive right into the questions and the discussion. You had mentioned that you had scars from a scarcity mindset. And I want to kind of go into, what do you mean by you have scars from that?
Well, we all have a money story. We all have experiences that shape how we see and view money today. And while those wounds heal, the scars remain. And I think it's important for us to be mindful of those things in our past that might be affecting how we see things in the future. Their biases, their filters. Some people call them sunglasses. It changes how you see things. And sometimes we can't necessarily remove that bias, but just being aware of it, that I'm going to have a tendency because of a past experience, maybe in a past trauma, I'm going to have an experience of this type of a situation a little differently. So just think of it like, if you have a bathroom scale, it's off by 4 pounds. Well, it may not be completely accurate, but knowing that it's off a little bit in one direction or the other, you can adjust how that scale is reading, or at least your interpretation of how that scale is reading, knowing that it has a little bit of a bias. But I actually was talking with Dave Ramsey. I'm sure you're familiar with Dave Ramsey a few months ago, and just talking about his own scars and some of the things that he went through, like a bankruptcy. He says, that guy who was on the verge of losing everything and his marriage and going through bankruptcy. Like, those are scars. They're still there. And I think we all have them. And if we're not aware of that, it can cause us to remain in a scarcity mindset.
Yeah, very much so. Part of the thing I tell people is to acknowledge the past, but don't be stuck in it. Like, for example, I've been through a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I've been through 2 foreclosures and a short sale, and several repossessions. And I don't say that as, nonchalant, there's nothing wrong with it. I say it as it's part of my life. In the 50 years, that is what has happened in my life. And I've learned from it. I've grown from it. Some of the things were not completely in my control. Housing market crashed. Fiber optic market crashed. And there were some things that were in my control from decisions I made that I could have made better if I'd have known better, right? So acknowledging, yes, those are scars, and I've grown from them. I think that's the important thing, is growing from them and realizing, okay, what lesson can we take from that and move forward with? Because I learned that you're right, that if we don't acknowledge it, then we live in that scarcity mindset and we don't move forward to grow from it, right? I think that's really, really important. I tell my clients all the time, y'all, everyone has something that they've learned from it, whether they want to recognize it or not. We've all had money mistakes, right? Especially with, us not having the conversations like we should. You mentioned, like part of yours was not being able to pay bills or afford to put gas in, the car that leaves a mark. And I get that, because wasn't all that long ago, I was on food stamps, and I was having to, before the food stamps, I was having to decide what bill I would pay so that I could put food on the table? Or was I going to be able to put all the food on the table? So, it's one of the things that I love about working with my clients, that they're like, okay, you get it. You've been there, you get it. And I think that's really important. One of the things I want us to dive into is sometimes we think that we should start with financial planning, but then we think it's too late. So what are some things that, one, where does someone start with that? And is it really too late?
Okay. It's never too late to start doing the right thing. Obviously, the sooner you start, the better it is. There's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And I believe that fitness and finances are very similar. They're a part of your life, whether you want to pay attention to them or not. You could ignore your fitness, you could ignore your finances, and they will both deteriorate without intentionality and purpose. So you don't really get to choose whether finances are a part of your life. You don't get to choose whether your fitness and health are a part of your life. You have to take care of both of those. Ignore them, they will go away. So that's the premise for what I'm about to say. You can still start making moves towards a better future and start chipping away at maybe some of the holes that you've dug for yourself. Maybe you're deep in debt, or maybe you've never started saving. Well, you're going to have to work harder, and that's okay. But you can still make positive movements towards a better financial future. And it doesn't matter so much. It does matter what you've done in the past, but your new future can start today.
Yeah, here's the thing. I didn't save when I was younger. I didn't. This is candid cash conversations, y'all. So I don't have a problem bearing it all. I didn't save, and you're right. The next best thing, the best time to do something about your fitness or your finances, and I'm big on mental and physical fitness. I think those are hugely important. Mental just as much as physical. And the people that follow me and are clients of mine know that I have my oldest has mental health disorders. So mental health is huge. Okay. And I also know that it's not too late. Especially like what you're saying with fitness. Let's see. I've had my business going on 7.5 years. So probably by the time this will air, it'll now be 8 years, which means it'll be 7 years that I've worked with my trainer. When I started working with her, I could not do a lunge without holding on to the back of a chair. I want people to actually visualize that. I could not do a lunge without holding on to the back of the chair. I got out of breath getting up and down off the floor. And I was almost 44 years old. I am now 50, I'll be 51. And I'm in the best health of my life. I'm about to do a 16-mile hike in Mount Zion. By the time this airs, that means I've already done it because I literally go in like a week. As my trainer says, yes, it's going to be hard, but you can do hard things. And if I would have imagined, 20 years ago, someone had told me at age 50 I was going to do a 16-mile hike, I would have literally offered to buy you a straitjacket. That was no. And I am. I'm going to do it. And I've been preparing for it and I've been training for it. And, finances are the same way. I've made mistakes. Some of it was my fault. Some of it wasn't. Decisions I made, would I change them? Probably. Some of them, I want you to acknowledge that you made the best decision at the best time. Was that the best decision? Probably not. And hindsight's 20/20. Going forward, though, like Chad said, we can do something now. Okay, what can we do different now compared to what we were doing before? With the fitness, for me, it was to get off my butt and do something. If I didn't want to have the health issues that was in my family, if I didn't want to be out of breath when I was getting up and down off the floor with my kid, what did I need to do differently? It was move. And I knew I needed accountability. So it was reach out and get accountability. And that's changed the trajectory of my business and my health, mentally and physically, forever. So it's never too late. I've seen so many people be able to change their mindset, their trajectory on their fitness, and their money, and not realize, oh my gosh, I'm 55 or I'm 60 or I'm in my 40s and it's too late. Really, honestly, it's not, right?
And,
I mean, am
and
I
it's
going to be able to
always going
save
to
as
be,
much in an IRA plan as someone who's been doing it since their 20s? No. And can I still put money up and as my business grows, keep putting it up? Absolutely. So it's possible.
it's possible. And it's, again, it's, do you want to improve your life? And are you going to be able, if you're 55 years old, you never saved a dime, you're probably not going to be a multimillionaire by age 65. Do you need to be? Maybe not. And can you still make your life better? Absolutely. But it has to start today. Like, you have to make a decision today that I'm going to start living differently, making different choices because I want something better for myself in the future. And we had a guy, one of the oil field guys, that we talked with. He was 50 years old with a negative net worth and felt like it's too late. It's too late for me to do anything. So he had about $100,000 of negative net worth. So debts were 100,000 more than his assets. And by the time I talked to him in his late 50s, it'd been about 9 years and he was a millionaire. And that might be a little extreme, and he made huge sacrifices to get there. This didn't come easily, but he made a decision. His first thing was, I am not going to take on any more debt. Cut up all his credit cards and refuse to take on any more debt. So he stopped the bleeding. That was the first step. And he started envisioning what his life would look like if he never had to collect a paycheck ever again. That was the motivation to keep pushing. And he works in the oil field. So, I mean, this is like up in the Arctic Circle, North Slope. We're talking like Santa Claus and reindeer land. There literally is a town called North Pole, Alaska.
I know. And I'll never go because it's too cold.
No, I've been up there when it's like 55 below. And these guys work
exactly.
in that. Men and women who for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, they don't see the sunrise. I mean, it's
That's
intense.
depressing.
So it was. Well, and it's, I guess the point being, like, he made sacrifices.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a magic wand that he waved,
right.
But he decided that starting today, I'm living differently because I want a better future for myself. Mm-hmm. And it was 10 years of a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, but it's paid off. Is he where he would be if he had started that in his 20s to 30s? No. But does he have a better financial future than 90% of Americans? He does. Because he made tough decisions. So it's never too late to start doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to make a big key here. The right thing for the client he was talking about may not be the right thing for you. Your life situation may be different. Your wants may be different. And I talk about this in all those wealth codes. It has to be aligned with your values, your desires, and your goals. If your goals are to be that multimillionaire, then yes, you're going to have certain things you're going to do. If your goal is to start your own business, or if your goal is to get to a new income level, or if your goal is to save for a vacation or save to put your child through college, whatever it could be, start. I have one client who says, I don't know how I can start putting money away to make sure I have an emergency fund for my business. And I looked at her very simply and I said, 2 things you can do. She said, what? I said, open up the account and move money. And she just looked at me like, what? And I was like, open the account, nickname it, so that's what this exactly is for. And I go into that all the time. Having it just say savings don't mean crap. You want your brain to see all the time what it's specifically for, and just move money. I don't care if it's $5. I don't care if it's 10. I don't care if it's 1,000. Just move money, and then consistently move the money. So you can't do $100 a month. Okay, do 10. You can't do $1,000 a month, but you can do 100. Okay, do 100. The kicker is if you start now and get in the habit. As you have more, you're going to start putting more. And I started doing that with an account called My Girls. Now, you said you have 6, so you'll you'll get this, okay? Kids' school supplies are expensive, okay? And school clothes or clothes, period. I have a 13-year-old and a 21-year-old. And my 13-year-old, I swear, she just grew out of everything she owns, like within a matter of a couple of months. We seriously have to go shopping. Like, shorts are too short. Pants look like they're high waters. Like, I just had to buy her a pair of shoes, and I think they were a shoe and a size and a half bigger than what she was before. And I'm like, how did this happen? I have an account that's called My Girls. I specifically put money into it for the school supplies and the clothes, so that way it doesn't mess up what I call my cash flow for my personal. And it has saved me. I have enough money in there that I can go and buy her basically, I swear it's almost a whole new wardrobe. Like, and it's not going to stress me. It's not going to hurt the cash flow. It's not going to do anything because the money is there. And when I started it, did I start putting $300 a month in there? No, I started with $5. I knew it needed to be done because school supplies were killing me. That was when both of them were in school. And it had to be done. And as I started doing it and not touching it because it said girls, right? So I knew it was for, it started mounting, and it just compounded and it grew. And I only touch it when I need to go and get those school supplies. And so just start. I think the misconception is if I can't put $2,000 a month up into a savings account, then I can't save. And that's just not true.
Yeah, we can't let perfect be the enemy of done.
Thank you.
And we have to focus sometimes on progress rather than perfection. So it'd be great if I could put around.
My trainer actually says progress over perfection. She tells me that all the time. Every time she introduces something new to me, and I'm like, she goes, progress over perfection, Lisa.
Well, and because too many times, especially people who are maybe more towards a perfectionist mindset or just have a lot of fear, the tendency is to let perfectionism actually be a thinly veiled disguise for fear and for procrastination. We get to kick the can down the road because my budget isn't perfect, my diet isn't perfect yet. I need to do a little bit more research, I need to do a little more planning, I need to find a little bit better investment, so we don't even start. So I want to point out 3 things for your audience from what you just said. Number 1, you started. You took the smallest step in the right direction, which is still better than any step in the wrong direction. So even if it was small, you took the next meaningful step towards your desired destination. And that's the other thing, is your actions, even if they were small, were in alignment with where you said you wanted to be in the future. And that's huge. A lot of us aren't in alignment. Our actions, and this is way beyond money, but our actions aren't in alignment with the person that we say we want to become or the life we want to have. We need to get our current actions aligned with the future. And then the last thing was intentionality. You said this money is specifically for these things. A lot of people do money in life on accident, and they wonder why things don't go well. You're not going to be financially independent on accident. You're not going to have a great business on accident. You're not going to have a great relationship on accident. But you were intentional and specific. Our mind, the human mind, loves specificity. You give it vague goals, you're going to get really vague results.
I love you. Because, yes, I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I just have a savings account and I just put money in. And then I'm like, no. Be specific. And my brain needs the specificity, because if there's not a thing on there for it, then my brain thinks, I can take it from whatever. Y'all, that's how I paid for my daughter's. My oldest is autistic, and she graduated high school. She's on the higher end of the spectrum, but she's on the spectrum. She graduated high school. And the one thing, and she also has a mental health disorders, but one thing she wanted to go on a cruise. She doesn't like people, but she wanted to go on a cruise. I still joke about that. She had a blast. I made it happen. How? She told me in her junior year, and I set an intention. Okay, that's what she wants. We're going to make it happen. I opened up a savings account and I called it graduation cruise, and I started chunking money in there. I had a year and a half. So I backed it, figured out about how much it would cost, backed it, had the plan in place, set the intention, and I started. I put it on a credit card to earn the points, but I immediately moved the money to the credit card to pay it off. I didn't have to charge anything and then pay it off over time. I had all of the money needed because I set that intention. And then I went with the plan. And I think that's really important. It has to be aligned. And you're right. A lot of times our actions aren't aligned with what we say we want or how we say we want to live. And if you say, I want to save for a vehicle or I want to buy a house, and you're spending $500 a month going out to eat, there's nothing wrong with going out to eat. I am not judging. In no way, shape, or form I'm judging. I'm proving a point, though. Your actions aren't aligned. Now, what I suggest is, okay, you're spending $500 a month going out to eat, and a lot of times people don't even realize they're spending that, and they're like, oh, crap, how much do you want to spend going out to eat? How much can you cut off of that? Oh, well, I don't want to do more than $150. Well, there you go. You now have $350 you can chunk into a savings account towards your goal, and now your actions are aligned. And that's where we're talking about is you have to, I tell people all the time, you don't have to be honest with me. You ain't got to be honest with Chad, but you got to be honest with yourself. Are your actions aligned with how you're saying you want to live your life and how you're wanting to be and the things that you want? And if they're not, you got to get real and say, okay, what do I need to do to change it? And it may be you're like, yes, I want to spend frivolously. I want to do this. Okay, great. And know that you're not going to reach those things. That's going to be it's going to be the reason why. That, again, there's no judgment. It's just that's how it is. I could have this conversation all day because fitness and finance and lined with our actions is like, honestly, I could see that can be a whole nother podcast. So I don't want to delve into that too much because I've already have wheels turning. What I would like is, what is something what's a costly mistake that some people make when they go to invest that maybe that my listeners can avoid? And I'm going to tell my listeners to make sure you stay tuned because we will dive into the other part in another episode. I got wheels spinning already.
I think one of the biggest mistakes investors make is they mistake volatility for risk. They assume that volatility is the enemy. And it's actually tied to another misconception. And we mistake currency for money. Money is not cash. It's not units of currency. It's purchasing power. Because if I have $100 today, and I put that money in a safe, and in 10 years from now I pull it out, I still have $100, but it will not be able to buy as much as it did. So in a very real sense, I've lost money. I still have 100 units of currency, but in a practical sense, I have
it's
lost
no longer
money.
Worth
so
what
if
it
we
was.
look, yes, I've lost money. So if I look at money as purchasing power, and this is where financial independence comes from income. It doesn't come from the value of all your assets at any given time. That's your net worth, but you don't go to Costco bringing your IRA or your 401k statement in retirement. You bring your income. So financial independence comes from having an income that supports your current lifestyle and gradually rises at least the rate that your expenses do. It keeps inflation. It paces inflation. So you can't bring a fixed income into a rising cost world without expecting some disasters. But people, as they get closer to retirement especially, seek relief from volatility by going into fixed income. And they treat volatility like the enemy. And that's a real problem because it causes people to make mistakes. It causes people to conserve or maybe even cripple their long-term income instead of growing their wealth, growing their income over time. So another way to think of this, Lisa Marie, is they choose short-term comfort over long-term security.
Mhm.
And it's scary. I get it. I mean, your 401k starts looking like a 301k. Just a couple years ago in 2022, we saw almost every major index go down at least 20%. And you can look at that and say, oh my goodness, like the sky is falling and, Armageddon's coming, whatever. Or you can look at it and say, well, the best companies in the world just went on sale. And, maybe temporarily my account has declined. But if I stay on the path, if I stay invested, if I stay diligent, it will come back, and I can buy at a discount in the meantime. So it's the same experience, but looking at it through different lenses. And if we treat volatility as the enemy, the chances are we're going to select more and more fixed income type investments, which actually harm our income and our financial security. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see people making.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, it's from lack of knowledge. I mean, I know for a majority of the women, especially, it's, investing is a lack of knowledge. And then who do you trust? And so make sure, you're working with someone that you can trust and you come from it from a place of knowledge. And I'm also going to say one thing too. And I think Chad will agree with me. If you're, for example, you're in your 50s like me, okay, and because of life circumstances when you were in corporate and your 401k, you cashed it in because, again, you got to live now, and that's the way things happen. I had to do that. Totally get it. And if you're at the point where, okay, you have your own business, there's things you can do. Like I have a simple IRA. I'm putting money in it. Is it as much money as I'll eventually put in it? No. And there is money going in it. And am I going to have the amount of retirement that maybe I would have had, for me to retire? No. And the thought of me retiring actually doesn't really suit me. I always need to be doing something. But my point is I'm actually putting money up with the concept of it's going to take care of my girls. Okay. That's kind of where I want to say. So like someone in their 20s or 30s may be using the IRA or that investing to take care of them so they can retire. My focus is to make sure my girls are taken care of no matter what. So, I want you to think outside the box. I'm sure a whole bunch of people have heard about acorns. That is something I started, and I did the early one. So it's for I didn't do it early enough to do both my girls, but I did the one for my youngest. And it's a roundup, and it's automatically a certain amount of money per week that goes into this, and I don't touch it. And I've been doing it, I think, about 6 months. Y'all, the amount of money that's in there and I don't go and look. I don't go check it because, again, with it, you can technically move the money out, not the early part, but yours, because I have two parts. I have money that goes in there just to keep investing. The amount of money that's in there, it's just growing and it's compounding. Is it thousands and thousands of dollars? No, but they're taking like $10 a week, and it's already quadrupled to several hundred. It's getting close to the 1,000 in one of them, and it's almost 1,000 in the other for her. So my point is just starting, right, with the intention. And I've now done the same thing for my oldest, who's 21. She has an account, and because she has her own disability income, I've set up acorns under her name so that money is starting to go into it. So something is building for her. Does that make sense? I mean, it's the intentionality, right? And what your values and your goals aligned with what you're wanting to do. And I just think it's important. Yes, I'm saving for me and to make sure that, things are taken care of. But my biggest goal is to make sure that when I'm not here, they are taken care of no matter what.
And again, it's those small steps, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's no one push-up that makes you fit. There's not a single lunge that makes your butt look good in jeans. It's a lot of
it's a lot
thousands.
Of them.
Yeah, it's thousands and thousands of small actions.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing with that. You're chipping away, And so again, like people might not be able to save what they want to today, but they can save something and they can start creating the habit. A lot of people say like, well, I'll save more when I have more income.
Or I'll start
When I have
saving,
more
or
wealth.
I'll start saving when I have more income, or I'll start saving when my business makes more revenue. Guess what, honey? The shit ain't gonna happen.
Yep. Yeah, you have to start the habit now. Because there's never going to be convenient time to pay your future self.
Exactly.
There's always going to be something that comes up. And to say that I will start saving when I have more wealth is kind of like saying I will go to the gym when I'm stronger and fitter. You have to just start. You have to start where you are, and you can't do anything about your past anymore, but you can do something about your future.
Yeah. Someone told me once, and we're going to end it with this, is that we as humans spend too much time in the past and too much time worrying about the future and not enough time living in the present. Meaning you can't do anything about the past. You don't need to be fretting about the future because you can actually determine the future by doing something now. Now is what's in your control. And I think it's, really, really important to understand that what we're both saying is just start. It doesn't have to be the acorns. It doesn't have to be just start. Look at what you're wanting and just start. Again, like I told my client, open up the account and move money. And again, if it's $5 a week or $5 a month, fine, but keep moving it. And y'all, it's empowering when you come from a place of not being able to do those things and you're starting to save and you're chipping away and you start seeing it grow. You start looking at, okay, how can I increase the amount I'm going to put in there? It's very, very empowering. But if you don't start and you just keep saying, oh, I'll do it when, then it's never going to happen. And he's right. One lunge does not make it to where you can fit into a pair of jeans. It's thousands and thousands of lunges and squats. Trust me, I know. And it's the same way with your money. It's not going to happen overnight. And that's what he was saying is it's not going to happen with one move or one action, but one move leads to another move, leads to another move. And so I want you to really, really think, are your actions aligned with what you're wanting? And if they're not, what's one thing that you can actually do to get it in alignment? Is that opening up a savings account and start saving? Is that doing an acorns? Is that investing? What is that one thing that you can just start doing? And then later you can add something else. Chad, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I can't wait to dive into the other thing the next time you're on. Again, it's a conversation I can talk about all day. I truly appreciate you being here. And my sassy friend, until next time, make sure to stay sassy. Bye. Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.